It's raining.
That's too much.
Oh. I have 2 levels, Rob.
Good evening, you horrible lot. Welcome to the Let's Watch Horror podcast. You're here with me, Manny, my alright mate, Rob.
Hey.
And my other alright, but a bit more alright mate, Ruby.
I'm flattered.
Man, it sucks when you're not the top.
Yeah, I know. I thought I'd put you in your place for once, mate.
You're used to being the bottom.
Yeah, I know. He loves it, really.
Yeah, I really do. Welcome to the Let's Watch Horror podcast, everyone.
Well, today we figured, seeing as, well, when you're listening, it's going to be in the new year, we figured we'd start off the new year with something new and exciting. A new year, new leaf.
New year, new me.
Exactly.
Hashtag experimental.
Exactly. We thought we'd jump on that bandwagon and we'd start off a new concept, which we all came up with quite organically, actually, where we take a topic of someone's choosing and we debate it, we discuss it, we riff on it, we just kind of talk about it and we see what happens. And, you know, it's going to be a little bit looser, a little bit more conversational, if we're not conversational enough already.
Kind of like a more fun Brexit.
Yeah, like kind of, you know what I mean?
Well,
Wait, what?
I don't know. People were talking about Brexit all the time and just debating that. And that not like we're leaving anything.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I did just kind of completely bluff there. I was like, yep. And in my head, I was like, I have no idea where you're fucking going with this.
For that.
This
it
is
was
not
all
a
great.
joke, Rob. Brexit has torn families apart.
Exactly, and this isn't, which is why it's a more fun version.
No, but we've decided to go with this. It was actually Ruby who came up with the concept while we were driving to a gig in a car. We kind of figured that when we talk about horror off the air, off recording, we're just usually talking about a bigger concept. We're talking about a movie within the scope of a larger idea. So we just thought, you know, why didn't we just put the bloody microphone in front of us when we do it? And we've decided that our first topic that we're going to discuss are found footage movies. Now, the reason we've picked this particular subject is because between us, there's a fair amount of variation in between how we see it. Not a huge amount of variation, but we do all have our own individual perspectives on it. And the main kind of question at the heart of it is there a future for found footage horror movies, which I'm sure is going to be a very interesting bit of discussion. So I figured the best place to start would be to kind of bring ourselves in and let you guys know where we stand on it, and I'll start with that. So I think here I'd have to place myself as the skeptic, because over the years, especially at the beginning of this decade, I got sick of these kinds of movies. So particularly after the success of Paranormal Activity, which we will definitely get to later, there was a sea of imitators, direct imitators sometimes. You were talking to me earlier about the Paranormal Entity movies.
Mate, we made a big realisation on that, because I initially was like, oh, it's a rip-off of Paranormal Activity, but obviously doesn't follow the same story.
Yeah.
And then you were like, oh, have you heard of this film called Entity?
The Entity, yeah.
And we discussed the ending of Paranormal Entity, and we were like, oh shit, it ripped off 2 films.
Yeah, so there is a part in Paranormal Entity where a lady is raped by a ghost, which is basically the central plot of the Entity. So it's literally a mashup of Paranormal Activity and the Entity, which, I mean, it wears its influences on its sleeve, but you said it sucks, right?
It fucking sucks. I mean, we try. It's so boring, and the end is just so shocking and just pointless and wrong. Like, to me, it was like, you can't fucking do that. You can't add that in there just as like, we've done fucking nothing all film, but have this intensely horrible bit and just I found it offensive.
It didn't earn it.
No,
it didn't earn it.
But I tried to work out if it made any money, because I wanted to see if a direct rip of 2 found footage type films, like, have they...
the Entity
isn't, sorry.
Yeah, no.
My mistake. if it would make money, and I couldn't find any profit or loss or anything about it, but there's 4 of the fuckers.
So you would assume that it did make...
It must have at least made some money.
It was successful to some degree, but that was part of a whole wave, that film, and it wasn't just direct rip-offs of Paranormal Activity. There were just a flood of found footage horror movies, which obviously has to do with the fact that, you know, they're relatively very cheap to make, and judging by the fact that Paranormal Activity cost $15,000 to make and grossed $193.4 million, which I was reading makes it the most profitable movie of all time, which is insane.
You just can't have that kind of success and not expect a fucking... What's the word? A
barrage.
A barrage. Thank you, Rob.
Sick, I knew a word.
Yeah. I wanted to say
a beige?
What's the thing with the hair? Balayage or something? I don't know. It's a chick thing.
I got barrage. I'm not going to have any more.
Barrage of copycats, you know, for years to come. Like, unfortunately, that was just always the way it was going to go after that insane success.
Yeah,
Well, the fact that Paranormal Activity cost $15,000 does mean that not anyone, but a lot of people could make it.
Yeah,
you know, It's not just a case of like, oh, if you copy, I don't know, fucking... you can't copy like a film like Saving Private Ryan or like Avatar because you don't have the funds, but you know, a few people could scrape together $15,000 and possibly make themselves $193 million, as well a lot of the films we're going to discuss clearly thought they would.
Well, that ties into, as I'm sure we'll keep mentioning throughout this, and that not most, but a lot of found footage films are like heavily amateur, aren't they? Like, for that reason, because it's so cheap to make. And I think that's not added to its reputation in the best way.
No. I've seen it got hugely oversaturated, especially during that period. And I saw way too many bad ones back to back at a specific point in time. And it just made me kind of go, fuck this, I'm done. And so I didn't watch any, like, for a while. Like, even if I'd heard a found footage movie was actually good, as soon as I heard that it had like the kind of the shaky-cam, like faux documentary kind of a thing, don't give a shit, because I just got bored stiff of them. So, but in doing my research for this episode and for this debate, I did come to realise that I do actually like more of these kinds of movies than I initially kind of gave myself credit for. I reminded myself of, like, Wreck gets brought up a lot, which I think Wreck is a really good, intense kind of a horror film.
I love Wreck.
Yeah. No, in terms of it being like a kind of a non-stop thrill ride, it really properly
fuck
succeeds.
Quarantine though, right?
Quarantine is useless as a remake. It like, literally the only thing about it that's different is the interaction that the main female character, the reporter, has between the firemen.
Exactly.
At the beginning. And the one thing I liked about their interaction in the original Wreck was that they are consummately professional, and it gives it that like believability where they're just talking as though they're a film crew hitching along with a fire crew. And in the remake, they make it so all the firemen are just flirting with her, and it seems so fucking Hollywood. I hate it. It's such a trope. Like, I Quarantine is useless, but you should watch Wreck because it's genuinely thrilling. The Poughkeepsie tapes is one I always bring up, which is hard to find, but I found through somewhat nefarious means back in the day.
I feel like this film almost deserves a podcast on its own right, especially for us three.
I love this film.
It's freaking momentous for us three. Like, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Manny. I don't know as much, but for me, this I lost sleep over this film. It scared the shit out of me. And there really isn't or hasn't been, even when I was younger, many films that have really, really scared me. But this film disturbed me.
There's the bit that I
was screaming.
Me and you were watching. You started grabbing me, going, Rob, and I was just like, I can't fucking help you. I'm shitting myself as well.
It is so grim and so brilliant.
Yeah, the Poughkeepsie tapes, I think, is like is one of the movies which takes the kind of the formula and just kind of makes something genuinely like fucked up out of it. It's really effectively disturbing. Disturbing is the word for that film. If you haven't seen the Poughkeepsie tapes, which I can't blame you for.
How are you saying that?
Poughkeepsie.
The Poughkeepsie, yeah, Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie.
Right.
It's a place in America.
Yeah, I bloody know that. I might not be able to pronounce it, but I'm not a complete dum-dum.
So I check.
But if you haven't seen the Poughkeepsie tapes, if you can find it, which is very hard to get a hold of because it only ever had a month-long video-on-demand release.
Didn't come out on DVD.
It's never been put out on Blu-ray or DVD, which is fucking...
It hurts me.
Like, literally, this film has, like, a legit cult following.
Posters go for quite a lot of this as well. Like original, genuine posters that they've brought out.
Yeah, maybe as gutting as it is for people like us not to be able to get our hands on a copy of it, like, it can't really be a bad thing for its reputation because it feels like... To me, it has this sense of being almost like an urban legend. Like, sometimes I'm like, did I really watch it? Is it actually real? Because, it's so underground and has this cult following and stuff. Like, it's big, but in a very underground way. You know? It has that sort of unreal, like, what's the word? Like, a mystique about it, I guess.
It does.
Definitely.
And it's another one, we were discussing about House of a Thousand Corpses where if someone says they like that film, you're like...
Yeah.
If someone likes this film,
it's a signifier.
Well, you know that they would have spent a lot of time watching found footage, most likely, and you know that they've... If they've seen Poughkeepsie tapes and like it, is another like nod to be like, I know about horror films and I like horror films. Annoyingly, I can't remember the name of the person, but I posted about this on Twitter, like when we first started the podcast. Someone said, it's a question that's asked a lot on Twitter, but what's one of your favourite horror films? And mine was Poughkeepsie tapes. And this guy went, I know the guys that made it, and I've been desperate to get them to make another film, and I think it's the only film they made, and they just haven't made one since, and they just like
again that adds to like a certain level of creepiness about it.
If that's the only movie they've made.
I think so. This is what this guy... I mean, he may be completely wrong and just jumped and I can make this guy think I know these people. But I don't... it's not one of those things that you make up. This guy was like, I've been trying to get them to, make another film and they just won't do it.
Jesus. That's it. I can't get over that that's their only, like, feature length. That's mad.
I don't want to be completely quoted on that. I may be wrong, but from my understanding, that is what...
I mean, again, I said, gutted to not be able to get a copy of it, but at the same time, I have pretty much decided I never want to watch that film again. Not just purely because it's scary, but, like, I want to preserve it like that in my mind.
You want to have that memory of it just being like a one-off, like, holy shit experience.
Yeah, because I know for a fact if I watch it again, I may still find it scary, but no way will it disturb me in the way that it did the first time because I know what's coming, or to a certain extent I don't remember what's coming. We talked about that
film a lot.
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, it really left a mark, and because I get that feeling so rarely, it's like I want to preserve it in its own little pickle jar and just keep it that way forever because it was such an experience.
See, I completely understand that, but for me personally, when I get something that affects me that much, my main thing that goes off in my head is, right, so it's never going to scare me that much again when something like that does. So therefore, I'm going to go back and rewatch it and figure out the mechanics of how they, like, sort of, like, even if I have to be, like, completely, like, making things up in my head, like being, like, giving theories about how it was made, I like to look at, like, okay, so this scene, like, sort of leads up to here, and I kind of get...
But that stops it being scary.
Yeah, but that's interesting in of itself to me. I know it's not how, like, everyone likes to look at movies, but, like, when I come across one that I really enjoy, it's not just horror movies, it's anything. I like doing that, but at the same time...
You like destroying the things you love.
Yeah, you find what you love and you let it kill you, or you kill the thing you love.
Do you remember when our friend Blue, who is and his name's actually Blue, it's a cool name.
It is.
He is a gamer, and he's not so much anymore, but he was an incredible gamer that would spend a fuck ton of time on games. And I remember when the first Slender Man came out, obviously quite a hard game. I got like 2 pages, shat myself and ran away and was like, no, I'm done. But he was like, I am going to complete the game. And he drew a map. He worked out exactly how fast you sprint and whether you're quicker or not. The very first Slender Man. He worked out how long so he just, a bit where he just stood there with the torch on and just counted how long the torch would last and like exactly like which one you needed to start off with. So if you started with the page inside of that like building, then you had a chance. If it was at the tree, and I watched him do it, and I was like, well, I'm still not going to play it because it's still scary. But he completely turned it into like more of this like, I don't know, like very
like a puzzle to be solved rather than a piece of art to be appreciated. And I think that's probably where me and you differ quite a lot on that. Like, I have less of a problem with what you do, but like, for some reason, when you talk about Blue and gaming, it makes me think of speed running. When people purposely glitch the game to do it as fast as they can. I hate it. It like actually offends me. Like, I get really, really angry, especially when it's with games that I loved as a kid. Like when I first saw a speed run of Ocarina of Time, I was like filled with rage. It was like shitting on a piece of art. Do you know what I mean? To me, that's just how I feel. Like I wouldn't have a go at someone for doing it, but it's like inside I'm like, nah, it's wrong, man.
See, I always have respect for people like the Blue that does that, because obviously you see a game as like a piece of art or like something like, and Blue sees a game as a challenge.
It's intended to be enjoyed.
Blue sees it as, come on, see if you can do it, and
break me,
and he will do it. He will fucking do it.
Is that not the beauty of art? Is that it can be interpreted in all these different ways?
It's the
right. Okay.
Yeah, we should probably get back to
right. So we had a bit of a tangent there.
This is what we do, though. This is realistic.
This is why we're doing this episode, so we can. But kind of.
But we do need to keep some semblance of structure. Okay. So that, my basic standing with found footage movies is, I'm less skeptical than I used to be, like, about them at one point, but I like good cinematography. I like good shot composition. I really enjoy that stuff, and most of the time, found footage movies kind of forgo that in order to come off a little bit more realistic, which I can appreciate sometimes, but I've seen more found footage movies I did not like than ones I have liked.
So would you say that there was a future for found footage?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I, as much as this is the central question...
I feel like that's the question we need to answer at the end, like when we've taken all of the evidence
if you know what I mean. I do, but do I think it's going to be able to do anything new might be a different question entirely, but we'll get to that.
Cool.
What do you reckon, or what are we doing, Ruby or Rob?
Ruby can go.
Yeah, alright. What do you reckon, Ruby?
I guess that kind of makes sense. I think we're probably on a bit of a spectrum here, a little bit.
Yeah.
Not massively, but my general understanding is that you're not as into it, Manny, and Rob, spoiler alert, a little bit more into it. I'm somewhere in between. I'm pretty neutral. I don't feel strongly about it in either way. I definitely don't hate it, but I wouldn't ever be like, if someone asked me what kind of horror are you into, the first thing to come to my mind would not be, oh, I like found footage movies.
Yeah, right.
The way I'm kind of thinking about it, of like on the plus side, I've got quite a long list of films that I really like that are found footage.
Yeah.
And on the con side, the cons for me are much more to do with like kind of what you were saying is just the way that it's actually done.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to my head is like quite often it just makes you feel a bit sick.
Yeah.
When they're done well, that doesn't tend to happen as much. But when they're done badly, and that motherfucker is just tossing that camera around like nobody's business, and it's like, dude, someone's watching this. Like, on a, it's not pleasurable in any way to see somebody do that. When they film a random corner of a room for like 5 minutes for no reason because someone's left the camera on the floor, and then inevitably someone will come and pick it up again, and that kind of stuff really does grate on me.
Yeah.
But that being said, that's, you can easily divide it into good found footage and bad found footage, like you can with any genre.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of the films themselves that I've loved, like there's a few that I've made a note of a few because I didn't want to forget any. Have you ever seen The Houses October Built, Manny?
I saw the trailer on YouTube and I did kind of do that thing where I was like, yeah, this is found footage, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But I like the concept. You know what I mean? Because the whole idea of actual haunted houses, you know what I mean? Where people actually will go on like Halloween and they'll go through like a walk through horror experience where it is like actually being stuck in a simulated real life haunted house. That's pretty fucking frightening as is. I mean, the whole idea that how does that tie in with the plot? Like,
sorry, just to interrupt really quickly. Me and Ruby actually went on one of these, just like kind of like a couple of weeks before we started the podcast. It was called Les Passages du Terror at Blackpool.
Yeah.
Very close.
That's as much of a French accent as I'm going to do. But we went in this thing, and it was kind of at the end of the day, and we thought we're going to do it at some point, but we decided to go in for it because it was right at the end of the day. And it was good. It was intense.
It was so scary.
I was at the back. And these people, I don't know how many people there were, but there was quite a few people in front of us.
There's about 10 of us in total.
And obviously, like, the thing that with this one is that it was mainly about films. So you went through, like Nightmare on Elm Street, there was a bit of a section, which I just wanted to hug Freddy, so to run away from him. There was The Exorcist, there was Halloween. But every time you'd walk past, the people would follow you. But obviously, I was at the back. So, and I'm quite a big guy, and I was just shoving everyone in forward, and Ruby was like, "Stop pushing me!" And I was like, "I don't give a shit. I'm trying to get out of here."
The woman in front of me was a complete stranger, and you kept pushing me into her.
I had to escape. Okay? I had to escape.
I'd already grabbed her 7 times out of fright and was like, sorry, and then you were pushing me into her. She thought I was bloody molesting her.
And the best thing about it is, at the end, you run through what I think is a door to the next section. It's actually a pub. So there's people sitting down, and you just run out going, "Ah!" And then everyone laughs at you. And then you get a pint and watch the next people come through.
Oh, man, that makes it, mate.
It was so good.
It was the first thing I'd done like that, because I know that there's like a Saw walkthrough, isn't there? Is it Thorpe Park?
Yeah, which is awesome.
Which I've never been able to go on yet. I've never really done anything like that before, and it was genuinely terrifying. Like, these people, they don't touch you, but they look like they're going to.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I was kind of stuck between, like, Rob was behind me, a stranger in front of me, so you couldn't either walk or run as you wanted to, because you didn't want to get left behind.
Yeah.
You also didn't want to run through and it all be over, so it was a really strange, like, stop-start experience, where I was actually quite scared. For me, the best bit was, I think it was the very end one, when we ended up in like a corridor, and it was lined with doors, so like quite this typical kind of asylum corridor scene, I guess.
Yeah.
And was it Mike Myers?
Yeah,
it
Halloween's
was Mike Myers. Yeah, like, we walked into this corridor and there was nothing there, and all of a sudden Mike Myers appeared at the end of the corridor where we were walking, but there was nowhere else for us to go.
Oh, brilliant!
He stood there just long enough for us to be able to see him, and then the lights went out, pitch black. I was shitting myself, and then the lights came back on. Rob turned around and he was stood directly behind him. He'd gone to the other end of the corridor, and Rob was just like, "Run, bitch, run!" I was like, "Shit!" And I legged it.
No, Michael Myers, no!
Mate, I wish I could have come with
good.
you. That sounds phenomenal.
But yeah, I think it's in Blackpool permanently.
Yeah.
By the sounds of it. Whoever's listening, I don't know if you live anywhere near there or what, but if you ever come across something, I think it was Passage del Terror. I don't know if it's Spanish or French, I can't remember, but definitely check it out. It's really, really fun. That's something I'd love to do in the future for the podcast. If we ever end up being millionaires somehow, is go and do this stuff and review it.
Yeah, that would be great.
Because there's really cool stuff out there.
For sure. I mean, but that's the thing. I find the concept of these kinds of walk-through horror experiences to be pretty scary in of themselves. So to kind of make a horror movie about that is a cool concept. But as soon as I kind of figured from the trailer that it was found footage, my interest kind of dropped a little bit.
And it's been done a lot. I mean, I don't know if it's been done a lot since Houses October built, or if it was around the same time. I'm not sure what came first in that sense. But and also, I think they've changed the name of it. It's now the Houses Halloween built, which I think is nowhere near as good.
Yeah,
that's to get that tag of Halloween. So on Halloween, when people type in Halloween,
there's something really
it comes up.
Pretty about the title, The Houses October Built. I find it really poetic and lovely.
Yeah, for sure. I know it has that certain ring to it, and it kind of it implies Halloween
exactly,
as opposed to just literally spelling it out for you.
Yeah.
But again, I think you're spot on, Rob. It's probably so that it would come up in search algorithms, and all that kind of a thing, which I understand.
What it comes down to.
Which is why when Halloween comes, we're going to be called the Halloween podcast.
You've got to get on the side of the algorithm, man. That's what it's all about.
It's literally, podcast is maths.
Yeah, well, no, precisely. You know what I mean? You've got to know exactly how to manipulate those algorithms.
Exactly.
And you've got to get on at the right time. You've got to have your team edit it so you get just over 10 minutes to get that advertising revenue. Yeah, I know what all these YouTubers are up to. Everyone knows what these YouTubers are up to.
But yeah, so I can't remember what I was really saying about it, other than it's from what I remember, it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. That was definitely one of those that had some of those shaky cam moments in it, but the rest of it kind of made up for it.
Yes.
It actually had like a decent plot. That came out in 2014, and you were saying like a certain time when there was a lot of them. I think it was that time. It was the sort of late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah,
like I've made a note of the dates on a lot of these films. So Houses of Octoberville, another one I really loved, and I would definitely really like to do a podcast on this, guys, especially, is Hell House LLC.
Yeah.
The Amazon Prime one.
It was a freebie on Prime, and I actually sat down to watch this because I think you were dropping Manny off after a podcast, and I was like, oh, I'll just put something crap on, so I'm happy to turn it off when you get home and go to bed. I sat and watched the whole thing because it was absolutely brilliant. It has some really good moments in it that I've never seen before, or that had been done in a different way. And that, again, that's set in a Halloween house.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of the footage is from the cameras that the CCTV cameras they've set up in the house.
To be fair, I do prefer it in these kinds of movies where it is more of a CCTV approach, because I think that I do enjoy those kinds of scares where you get like the static camera. As much as I don't like Paranormal Activity very much, I find them a bit boring. But when they're done properly and you get like the static like camera, you can do quite a lot with that. I find you can be a bit more calculated with what you decide to show and what you don't, which for me is kind of at the heart of a lot of like the horror filmmaking I really like, where it's just like it feels calculated just where it needs to be, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I find with that you can do quite a lot. I mean, I saw one when I was younger called My Little Eye, which is, have you heard of that? Like, it's one that stuck with me because when I first watched it, it frightened the living fuck out of me. It's about a reality TV show where I think there's like 8 people in a house, and they have to stay there for, I think it's a year, and if anyone leaves, none of them get the prize money. So they all have to remain within their house.
I've heard of
Yeah, it came out in 2002, so it's getting on a bit now. But we joined them in I think the last month or so, and things start to get fucked up. Like some really odd things start to happen in the house, and that's a similar approach in that it's very CCTV like. And
I think it's just having a few different camera angles, isn't it? So you're not just reliant on one guy's handheld for the entire time.
Yeah,
so,
I think
because
your eyes can't take it. I find
you get fatigued, don't you?
That's it for me. Definitely the biggest critique is just the way it looks sometimes when it is, especially you get one dude just carrying one crappy camera around the entire time, and they have to find excuses for why he's doing it all the time.
Yeah, that is my pet peeve. I think it is for a few people, but like, why are you still filming this? We gotta get everything.
Yeah,
we were talking about this and that like earlier today, and we were saying that that's why you come up with a good reason why you carry on filming it. So shall I talk about Grave Encounters now, or save that for a few minutes?
Yeah, do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so in
Grave
Grave Encounters, by the way, one of the best ones I think of found footage.
I disagree, but we can talk about this.
Yeah, I think it's great and I love it, and it's just I think it kind of kick-started this idea that anyone could try and do it, because it's not like the concept of it is quite simple. It's these people that are coming up with this fake reality TV program. Well, not fake. They're in their thing. It's going to be a very real one, and it all just goes a bit wrong when they go and stay at this place for the night. But the thing that I like the most about it is how they get you to how they prove or show why the camera's always rolling. So you've got Lance Preston, the main guy. You can tell that he is just hellbound on getting the footage. Mm-hmm. So you believe that he's always going to be filming, because he really is one of those guys. Like, I hate it in all the other films where they're like, we're going to go capture this stuff because that's what our job is. And then they hear like a mouse and like, oh God, run away. And it's like, no, if that was your job, you would fucking film that shit. Yeah. And he does that. He doesn't shit himself. He's constantly in the moment.
Straight away anyway.
The other guys who get scared and don't want to do it anymore, especially their main cameraman, they have to keep filming because it's their only light source.
Yeah.
Which is and I think that is great, because you get two types of filmer. You get Lance, who's trying to film it for the TV program, and the other guys that are filming it for light. So you get like
later
really
on
cool
it becomes
shots.
Especially, I think the lights get broken at one point. And all they have is the camera lights, and it's like, that's really, of course you would have them on. Like, you don't want to be in the dark, so yeah, it makes sense. and I'm on board if it makes some kind of sense.
Yeah, I mean, they ask the question once of why do you keep filming, and that gives Lance a chance to tell everyone, because we've got to. It's what we came here to do. It's their job.
Yeah.
So
once is fine and forgivable, but in so many films, it's 27 plus times.
Yeah,
it's just awful.
Yeah, I mean, in Rec, I think she just once things shit really goes down in Rec. There's that. I think she mentioned it once. She's like, you keep filming. This is this is a story people need to see, because obviously they turn up just like
she's a journalist. So,
they turn up just trying to just following along a fire crew for the night, and then they end up capturing like an insane paranormal fucking occurrence, and as a zombie outbreak, and close up footage, which if they manage to get out is going to be the story of their career. So
as a news reporter, then what you've got to do it.
That footage is going to make your career is going to skyrocket. So as an audience, we fully believe why they wouldn't just drop their camera, because that I legit. I've seen a few. I do quite like Cloverfield, but that was the dumbest element of it. You're just a civilian, at the civilian viewpoint, and there's a huge monster and an entire military response. The entire of New York is on lockdown, and you're just fucking lugging a camera around with you, which survives so much abuse.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, sorry, I'm interrupting you massively there. Carry on.
No, there's I think he suffers a massive fall. I don't want to get.
And you get to see that.
Yeah,
Cloverfield is the one for me. I really like Cloverfield. I'm really into my what do you call those films, creature features?
Yeah,
things with big awesome creatures in. I get such a boner for. I love them. But that was one of those films that I saw that in the cinema when I was a little bit inebriated, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I was just absolutely mullered by that film. I couldn't take my eyes off it, even though I really thought I was going to throw up everywhere every second, because it was on a huge cinema screen.
Yeah, fuck
I was feeling a little bit wavy, and it was such a mess. But I mean, it's to the film's credit that I kept watching the fucking thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of those things that really put me off, that of just why are we... You see them running downstairs, but he's clearly holding the camera facing the floor.
Yeah.
So you get to see their feet running downstairs 100 times.
Overuse of that sucks.
Oh,
yeah,
so
much.
It's really silly. And yeah, no, that definitely is one of those where there's not a lot of reason for him to be doing that. You could argue for most found footages, does that work?
Yeah, that works.
Footages.
You can, unless there's a good reason is provided for them filming, you could always pretty much make the argument that they're using it as a security blanket, because if something horrific's going on, whether it be human or ghostly or spirity or whatever it is, it could be a screen between them and what's going on, and maybe it's some kind of security blanket. But I don't think the films that are really bad actually think that far.
No, they clearly don't.
It's just we need to film it. So
the best conceit I've come across in terms of why it carries on filming is that the first segment of the first VHS, where because it's those three guys who go out on the town, I think, to they're trying to film a secret porno, aren't they? They go out, they're looking to get laid, and he has this secret camera in his glasses, so we're getting it directly from his eye view the whole time, and you can quite easily imagine that even when shit goes down in that, he might just forget. You know what I mean? Because people do forget they've got glasses on if they do wear glasses. So for me, that was excellent. It just killed it off. And I mean, I actually really like that first segment of VHS. I wish I liked the rest of it as much as that first one, but that's definitely up there as one of the better found footage horror movies I've seen. I really enjoy that first segment.
Top 10, if not top 5.
It's up there, man.
I just realised, Rob, you've not actually given us your spiel yet.
No.
Yeah, right. Okay. What do you think about found footage, Rob?
Well, found footage horror fans, welcome. You are my friends. I just want to go through a few little tiny bits of housekeeping first. If you guys can hear the rain, we apologise for that. It's another big rainy day here where we are. And also, it's a shame because we just upgraded our whole system.
Yep, we did.
We realised that a couple of episodes you can hear a little banging. Well, I realised it and it pissed me off. That you can hear a banging sound. So we've bought this arm thing that now hangs the microphone in front of us, and that should I don't know anything about how to do this, so it says that it's not going to get the shock.
episode by episode.
We really are. Wow.
Jinx.
We're becoming in sync.
Yeah, exactly. That would not have happened on the first episode. No, it wouldn't.
You guys are syncing. That's so cute.
Oh, don't say it like that.
Yeah.
God almighty.
But yeah, I am a big fan of found footage horror films. I'm going to do my best to not just reel off a list of them. Because
Reel off the list of them, go on.
Yeah, fuck it.
but so I was kind of brought up on Blair Witch. You know, my mum used to watch that all the time, and I remember we would go to, like we were talking about last week, about going to these video stores.
Yeah.
We used to go there, and that one always struck me. I don't know why I remember it. I think they had a poster of the Blair Witch, and my mum picked it up, and they were talking about it, and I remember them saying, "Oh, the bit where they find the stuff in the trees, and there's a finger in this thing," and I don't know how old I was. It was 1999, wasn't it? That it came out?
Yeah.
But I wanted to watch it so.
Sure, you didn't watch it when it came out.
I didn't watch it when it came
Thank
out,
God.
but I watched it very soon afterwards because I
been
just
6 years
I there's something about it. It terrified me, just the idea of it. And I didn't really hear what happened at the end, but I knew that there was this house that they ended up in the middle of the woods, and that idea. And I kind of thought about me with a camera doing that when I was a kid. And obviously back then cameras weren't just on your phone.
No.
Because but I just became obsessed with that idea, and I watched it and loved it.
It was kind of before it's. I know it's maybe putting it a bit much, but it's a bit before its time. 99, considering a lot of these films that we're going to be talking about were sort of like around 2010.
It's before the Paranormal Activity took over.
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, I also want to talk about another one. I am reeling off a list. I didn't. The Last Broadcast.
Yeah.
Now, Ruby hates this film. I don't know if you've seen it, Manny, but this one came out a bit before, and it's about these three TV hosts that are searching for the Jersey Devil. And actually, this film was one of the first film ever to be streamed out live, as it's like as it being the last broadcast.
When did it come out?
A couple of years.
1998.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nice one. And it's so good. I mean, it's a proper documentary style, so it does the whole. I mean, that's another thing I love about found footage. Every time at the start when it's like this film is like this footage was found and this happened in 1990 whatever, and the police have it and now you can watch it. Gets me excited every single time I see that. I'm like, oh, okay. So this.
Do you think that's a big remnant from the Blair Witch?
Yeah, I think so. And
obviously
in the Last Broadcast, it's played off like a documentary. I mean, there's some pictures I think that you said that you didn't like about it is that when they have no footage, to make it seem real, they just put a picture of a tape recorder up there and you're just listening to stuff. And they show bits and pieces from their TV program, which is I really liked it because it's a completely different way of doing the found footage genre. You know, it's not just the footage. It's not like CCTV cameras. It's like they've properly gone for the whole, here is what their show looked like. This is part of their footage. We haven't got this on tape. So we haven't got this footage, so here's a bit of the tape. And it's all about the director trying to get the found footage back together, so it really does play on the found footage, as in, they found it, he's doing everything he can to get it back together. And the twist at the end is fucking sick! But, yeah, so that, I love those ones. They really got me into it. And I kind of didn't really watch anymore for a few years, because we all had to wait for Paranormal Activity to come out. And I watched that with my mum in the cinema, and she loved it, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
It'd be interesting to know if there were any between sort of like 2000 and 2007. Seems to be around when it started. Well, 2007 was Wreck, and also Poughkeepsie Tapes came out in 2007 as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anything happened in those 7 years, or if it really was. Obviously, Paranormal Activity 2007.
Yeah,
seems to be when it all kicked off again.
And yeah.
I mean, I watched. There was one film I wanted to bring up called The Last Horror Movie, which I saw when we got it on. I got it on DVD from HMV when I was a lot younger, and I think that came out in between those two.
Yeah, I'm sure there were bits.
Yeah, no, for sure. That I mean, it's easy to imagine that a lot of like independent filmmakers would choose to make a film like this because you can embrace the limitations with found footage, which I think is vital as to why a lot of independent filmmakers do choose it, because it doesn't matter if you haven't got the most up to date equipment, or if you're not particularly like professional in terms of like knowing like the shot composition, and you don't have the best sound. It doesn't matter, because you can like play it off as being more authentic, and it can work. You know what I mean? But there were definitely some between that point. I remember The Last Horror Movie is good. It's a lot like Man Bites Dog, which I really like. I haven't seen either of those for a long time, but I remembered that I had seen them when I was doing my research for this, and they're both like kind of a documentary style, following around a serial killer. And he's kind of documenting his killings and his manifesto and the reason why he kills them. Man Bites Dog is a lot more of a dark comedy, I think, whereas the last horror movie, you want to talk about good twists. The twist at the end of the last horror movie is fucking killer. It will make you lock all of your doors. It is brilliant. But yeah, I really like the central performance in that film. The actor who plays the main killer, the psychopath in question, he's brilliant. I definitely, if you can track down the last horror movie, give that fucker a watch. It's really, really good. It kind of loses some of its impact if you don't rent it on DVD for reasons that will become obvious as soon as you start watching it. But there definitely were a few.
I think that's one of the key points. Definitely, is just that, like, by no means does it destroy a decent film.
No,
you know, you if you've got a decent plot and you've got good actors and all of that jazz, being found footage isn't going to ruin it if it's done in the right way. You know, so it's not that it's bad within itself. It's just it can make a bad movie a lot worse.
Yeah,
I think that's a really key thing.
I watched The Bay about near when that came out, and I hated that film. It was just but that's the thing, I'm trying to recall what I hated about it, and I think the main problem I had with it was that it was completely forgettable and generic, and I remember that the acting was rubbish in it. You know what I mean? Like, no amount of film grain can mask terrible performances. Like, you can't get around that. But yeah, no, that was that was bad.
When a film is good, like one I definitely want to name drop. Again, along with Hell House LLC, this is one I'd really like to give its own podcast in the future. Is As Above, So Below.
Yeah. Which
came out again in 2014, and this is one of those films. This is something for me as well. I think that when a found footage is good, I tend to forget that it's found footage. Yeah. I've noticed, like, when this one occurred to me, I was like, "Shit, is that found? Oh yeah, it is found footage." Like they're like a some kind of investigatory team, aren't they? Who go down into the catacombs. So of course they're just filming it for themselves. But I'd totally forgotten that because it's so good. It's so freaky. It's got some brilliant scares in it, and just the general claustrophobia thing it's got going on again. Which I think is a really key point of found footage. As in Grave Encounters, they're stuck in the asylum. There is no way out for them. And that's what makes it so scary. And in these sort of Halloween house films as well, they're in a strange place in a house they don't know, and it's that element of being trapped and not being able to get out that makes it even more, like, that gives it that suffocating feeling that when you're viewing it in this straight up and personal way, you feel that suffocation, that claustrophobia. It's
like a fish out of water to the nth degree kind of thing. Yeah, no, for sure.
It just really throws you in.
Well, yeah, I mean, going back to the reason, why I like found footage so much is I think it's just when I was a kid, it was, the idea of it being true stories and this really happened. That was a massive draw for me, is because when you're a kid, you kind of you tell your friends at school. I mean, I probably shouldn't have been telling my friends at school about the Blair Witch, but everyone's like, "Oh my god, it really happened!" And you see it, and I was like, "Yeah, it really happened." And obviously we know it didn't, but
much easier to believe. When it's
and I think it taps into me. That taps into me a little bit when I watch them today. I mean, it's like Creep. We watched that recently.
Yeah, I watched that too, and I really enjoyed Creep.
And I was thinking of that. I was like, this could actually be something that really happened.
Yes.
Because it's very believable. A guy, is enticing people to come and be with him and film him. I mean, we'll go into that one a bit later, because otherwise I'll just talk about that before I actually answer the question we put.
Yeah.
But that's something that I was like, yeah, that could be believable now. That actually could. I mean, you don't know. There could be these police officers, or working in an evidence room, watching shit like that right now. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to piece it together for our benefit, but they could be piecing it together, for the evidence, and that's
for the jury,
what these films are given to us for. Is it's supposed to be evidence of something happening that has been just about released or something like that. You know, think about Bad Ben. That whole thing is that it was, you know, it's evidence for something that happened to this man in this house. By the way, do you want to know how much Bad Ben cost to make?
Yeah.
$300.
Of course it did.
I haven't seen it, but
is that
I've
what
heard.
he paid himself in
That might have just been the camera.
It must have been, because there was nothing else going on there.
It's literally just a man. That's it. Just a man and some ghosts chilling out, and yeah, it's great though. I mean, it's not like Blair Witch levels of like amazing.
No.
Yeah.
But for a guy
it's
with
not really any levels of amazing.
yeah. But for a guy with $300 and the ability to put a film on Amazon Prime, fair play, because that has got 2 sequels.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, that means it must have been successful if he made sequels.
I think he just has cash to burn.
And this guy, like,
honest.
he dropped the making of Bad Ben as well on Amazon Prime, so there's a whole thing behind it, and that's another thing about
people
found
love
footage.
It, and I love that they love it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna have to check that out at some.
It's
You have
fucking
to.
hilarious. Just get drunk and watch it with friends late at night, and it's fine.
Yeah,
Alright, okay.
But that's another thing I love about found footage is the fact that it gives these directors a chance, or anyone a chance to make a film. You know, and it gives these, especially like if you're a director that you don't have any money but you really want to, you know, do something with film.
Yeah.
And maybe get your name out there, then you can grab a camera, come up with a decent story, a decent script, and get some decent actors. Well, that may be harder than it sounds. And you can create these films. I mean, like the people that did Paranormal Activity, $15,000, you know, they probably weren't exactly, I didn't know any of the names beforehand, and they bring out a film, which obviously means they're going to get bank from it, but also they've now given themselves a chance to do anything else. You know, they would have made the contacts and everything like that. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, the only problem with that is that you do get a lot of shit out there.
What happened to them though? Because I mean, let's be serious. 15 grand isn't nothing. It's still a decent amount of money. We definitely will never have that spare to make a silly film. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I do wonder, have they made films since? Like, I'm guessing Paranormal got taken over by some big...
Yeah, Paramount, wouldn't it?
I know a lot of the guys behind... I know a lot of the guys behind the Blair Witch. One of them ended up being like a major horror producer. Like he ended up actually getting involved in the film industry in a much bigger way. Heather from Blair Witch ended up being a small time actress. Like she kind of did a few roles and I think like stopped acting.
Paranormal Activity though, just because that was such a phenomenon. That was a cultural phenomenon.
Maybe it was so big that the actors couldn't really be in much else because you're the main woman. She was the woman from Paranormal Activity. You're always gonna be noticed.
The acting in that wasn't great.
I thought she was great.
Okay.
But then I love that film. Yeah. I love all the alternative endings. There's 3 of them. Yeah. I really do. And so to answer the question of is there a future for found footage films, for me personally, of course there is.
Yeah.
But right now, and I think it's doing the right way, is that right now they shouldn't be bringing them out in the cinema. There's the big budget ones, just give it a rest for a bit because it's been done. Like, and I don't know what other ideas you can come up with because the idea of, I mean, unless like maybe a Poughkeepsie tape style thing, but then there's no need for that to be but the big budget ones give that. I mean, they finally seem to have given a rest with all the Paranormal Activity sequels. They did all of the numbers, then they started bringing out names like the marked ones and all of this crap. Man. And I gave up watching them because I couldn't put myself through it anymore, and it was shitting all over the first one's name. I mean, even the second one I thought was boring compared to the first one, and that cost like 3.2 million.
Fucking hell, really?
Yeah, there was no need.
What the fuck were they spending 3.2 million on?
I don't know. I mean, the house.
Did they need more objects to just move like out of nowhere? Did they get better objects to move?
I don't know.
Because I'm not gonna I don't share your enthusiasm for Paranormal Activity. I thought it was boring when I first saw it because to me it was it didn't really go much beyond just stuff moving and noises. The one scene which I will give Paranormal Activity credit for is the part where you see the wife. I think it is the wife, isn't it?
Yes.
She gets out of bed and like stands over her husband. And it's like the time lapse, and it goes for about 5 or 6 hours, and she just stands there for the entire time. proper creepy. Like I remember watching that and going, ugh, that's fucked up. And but everything else just completely passed me by.
I'll tell you what I loved about Paranormal Activity was watching it with friends in the cinema. That it was fun for that. Even the sequels, like most of this, I think I saw at least.
Me and you have gone to see pretty much all of them apart from the new
2 and 3, or maybe 3 and 4. I don't know. I can't remember how many there bloody are at this point. But we definitely went to see a couple in the cinema with like a group of people, and it was always really fun. Like it was one of the few times where, in the average British or English cinema, like people tend to be quite quiet. No one really makes any noise or cheers or even like laughs that much out loud, you know, like, but in that, like, people were gasping and screaming and throwing their popcorn up in the air, and it was really fun. It was like a fun experience in the cinema.
Oh yeah,
watching it on your own at home is a very different thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I just want to interrupt there. So I make mistakes when I say words and stuff, and we have a good laugh. Ruby just said pop cups. And we didn't do anything about it. What's going on?
We're slipping, man.
We are, because I'll say something stupid in a minute. I'll try and say Twitter and say splitter, and everyone will be like, ha ha ha, dickhead.
Yeah,
Ruby's just like, you know what, you're allowed a few, Ruby. But
cups.
I think, shall we give the talk about the poll we did on Twitter? So, everyone that I mentioned in the poll and said that you're going to be in it, we've actually left it till now to bring this up so that you could at least listen to 49 minutes of this first. You know, get some of our content out there. Hopefully you like it. Subscribe as well. Please subscribe. But yeah, so we put a poll out to kind of explain what we're going to do and just to see a general idea of how people wanted it to, or no, if they wanted us to do this. And it was a success. Well, in my opinion, it was a success.
Definitely.
So we put a vote out, and the question was, is there a future for found footage horror movies? And we put 3 answers. But yes, there is. No, there isn't. And I don't care. Because I wanted to we could put a little control out there for people.
Yeah, it's got to be done, haven't you? Some people might not give a shit, which is fair enough.
And it turned out a few did. We got 307 votes, which is awesome. Thank you to everyone that voted in this poll.
Yep.
59% of people said, yes, there is.
Yeah.
So that Twitter gave us an answer to the question of a lot of people think there is a future. 21% said no, there isn't. So there are people out there. Yep. And 20% said they don't care. So 20% of people out there either don't care about horror, don't care about our poll, which would be sad, or just don't care whether or not found footage is around.
Or they don't care about us.
They don't care about us.
They're just generally apathetic.
Which is what we're always going to give these people a chance to say that.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
You have to give a voice to the people who can't be asked, because they're not going to do it themselves.
Exactly. And it got quite a few retweets as well, and a couple of likes, so that's always nice. Thank you to everyone that retweeted and liked it. You guys may have noticed that in front of you have got pictures of the comments.
Oh, I've just found it.
Yeah. And we're going to read them out and discuss them and give Twitter a voice in this. I want to go first, because I want to talk about our friend Lozman. The Lozman. At Lozman94. I just hope I got that right this time. He commented, and of course he once again just shows that he knows everything about horror. He's seen all the horrors. Very recently he put up on his Twitter about this thing that he created a while ago called the Lozman's Lair of Horror, where back in dial-up age of internet, he had a website where he would kind of put people towards and help people find like obscure horror.
Yeah.
And that is so cool. I mean, I don't know if it's still running now. I don't think it is, but I got to see a picture of what the website looked like, and it's so cool.
Is it like a proper old school, like late 90s kind of page design?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that thing gives me a mad nostalgia boner.
I know.
It really does. No, fair play. I mean, anybody that puts people towards lesser known good like stuff, that's always a commendable service. So, yeah, cheers, mate.
And he said, found footage can be effective if it feels like a natural part of the narrative instead of just an excuse to copy another and often better film.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I don't see how you could not agree with that.
Yeah, that's just a pretty objectively correct point, I think.
Because, that is the problem, is that, like I said, it's a great chance for directors to try and, show what they can do, but unfortunately it gives copycats a chance, like with Paranormal Entity, to just rip off something that's better than what they've done, and just hope that it makes money. And there definitely was a time where, I was watching every found footage film that came out, pretty much, so there was a time where people were just chucking all this shit out and people were watching it and paying for it because they liked found footage. It was a kind of a newish genre at the time, especially when Paranormal Activity came out. It was newly became massive.
Yeah.
And that was a big problem. So thank you for that comment. And that, I completely agree with that.
I mean, it's the same as with any kind of a fad, isn't it? There's always going to be like some people who genuinely have an idea and who actually have something artistically to express or something new to bring to the table, and then there are going to be other people who, they just see something and they want to make a buck off it. Which, I mean, I don't like completely despise these people, but I'm afraid the people with the ideas will always come out top trumps in the end. Always, always.
Right. So who wants to read out one of theirs?
I'll read one out. Sarah, who goes by the handle of Up North Bliss, said, there are so many found footage movies that always make me a believer. Afflicted is one. Now, I've got to be a bit contentious on this because I watched Afflicted and I didn't like it that much. Personally, I was not much of a fan of Afflicted. Have you seen Afflicted?
Yeah, it was on Netflix for quite a while and we always seemed to just scan past it, didn't we, Ru? And then one day we watched it and I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it would be up there for me as one of my favourites, but I got enjoyment out of it because I'm a found footage nerd.
Yeah, I mean, maybe without question, our biases and personal tastes come into the equation. But I mean, I remember watching that one, and just from what I can remember, it didn't take me in. I think a lot of these movies they kind of live or die on how believable they are, and it just felt a little fake to me personally. But that was just me. I mean, I quite like the conceit of kind of seeing this person transform into a vampire, and it's kind of done in a very body horror kind of a way. You see this infection fully take them over, and but I just remember finding it a little obnoxious. But thank you very much for your comment, and I do agree that I might not agree with your movie choice, but I can definitely agree with the sentiment that there is always going to be those movies which you come across where it's yes, this is a great idea which uses this framework really creatively. So thank you very much.
Well, you're just using... Sorry, I know you've sort of finished up there.
No, go for it.
The vampire in a found footage, just that in itself is fun because it's not something you necessarily expect. Found footage tends to be spirits or serial killers.
Yes.
Really. Or, okay, maybe not quite that limited. There's obviously creature features and stuff, I guess. Cloverfield, but vampires that's kind of new. Yeah,
it reminds me of that comedy one. It's what lies beneath the upside shadows. I don't know what it is.
What
I'm
we
making
do
a joke. That's it. Yeah.
What we do in the shadows.
I love that film.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
People from Flight of the Conchords on that one.
Yeah, so good.
Bless them. Bless their wee little Kiwi hearts.
Okay, so I've got one from... Are we doing name and... what's it called? Handle? Don Carpenter with the handle @BrackD Barbarian. And replying to the question, he said there can be... So I'm guessing he said there can be a future. It was a fad for a while and a lot of films got made that maybe shouldn't have been. But that doesn't mean the style doesn't have merit. And I completely agree. With that. Whenever there's a fad, there's always going to be people, as you said, up for the cash grab. Or,
always.
Just trying to get in on a good thing. But that doesn't mean the style itself is bad or wrong
of
or
course not.
Shouldn't be done.
Look at slasher movies. So in the 70s, in the wake of Halloween, I mean, you had just a whole bunch of movies with a very similar structure and kind of that played the same kind of beats being made, and a ton of them are completely forgettable and really bad, and then some of them are sleepaway camp. So it works as a premise across all kinds of things,
and I love to be surprised with that. There's nothing more than I love more than to be proved wrong on something. I think quite strongly about. I'm generally not a slasher fan. I know that's fucking sacrilege in the horror community, and I'm probably going to get a lot of stick for that.
Hashtag Ruby sucks.
Hashtag Slashergate.
I'm just not. I think number one, I didn't grow up in the 80s, or I didn't grow up with slasher films as an influence, but generally that sort of typical step-by-step thing that they seem to go through, I'm generally not a fan. But then I watched Terrifier, and it was brilliant, and I loved it. And that's a straight up slasher.
Oh yes, it
Pretty
is.
much, yeah.
You know, it's got. I mean, that I would argue that the villain in that is a million times more charismatic than most slasher villains. But you know, still, it proved me wrong that just because something's a slasher doesn't mean I'm not going to like it. And the same stands for found footage.
Yeah,
Don Carpenter also commented a couple of times. He actually gave one for everyone to watch, which we've all seen. Which was, he said, "Here's a good one. More should see. Troll Hunter, 2010.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a completely one that I wasn't even thinking about when we were talking about this.
I mean, it's a proper mold breaker. I mean, not just in terms of like found footage, but just the very like the concept of having this movie, which is about. Is it set in Norway? Is it Norway? Or,
I think it's Norway.
Yeah.
It's Norway.
And it take it's about them literally hunting these gigantic trolls, which in of itself, that's a proper unique premise. And obviously they've chosen to have it so that it's like it's being shot by these sort of amateur filmmakers and
Troll.
Oh yeah, that was I completely agree. Troll Hunter is an excellent movie. It
Probably a not quite horror. I'd
Yeah,
maybe argue.
yeah.
It's not much of a scary movie, is it?
No,
It's very
kind of like
fantastical.
Yeah,
Very pretty.
it's in the Cloverfield game.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I agree. It's more of a creature feature, but it uses that aesthetic of the found footage, and
The big fuck off one at the end just gets me every time.
no, it's fucking wicked.
I just have such a thing for. I need to look up. Like, I have some kind of philia, I think, for big ass creatures. Like, you know that like in God of War, like some of the things you fight in God of War.
Yes.
They get me like like
Remember
so
when we were playing
excited.
Darksiders, you really like that one.
I just freak and the name's completely slipped my mind. You got the remaster of it lately.
Oh, Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus, which
Yes.
I didn't play as a kid, so seeing the remaster was like my first experience of it, and they're just so huge. They just really does something to me. I love it.
Yeah, no, I definitely I remember playing some of those God of War games, and you literally end up like climbing up the
On their
backs
face.
of these things, and they're trying to swing it. And I mean, I'm like Shadow of the Colossus is probably in my top 20 games ever. Like I fucking adore that thing. So
Yeah.
maybe I share your fucking weird thing, Ruby.
Well, there's
Who
something,
knows?
I guess it's something godlike about it, isn't
Yes.
there? Just something so otherworldly. And I'm thinking of the kaiju in Pacific Rim. As
Oh
well.
yeah, what a shout!
So amazing. They just
Pacific Rim made me feel like a fucking 6-year-old. It was great.
yeah.
It really did.
Right, I've got another comment from Horrible People's Podcast. I think found footage is a future, but it's evolving in the ways the stories are told, like Unfriended, which
Shout.
I'm glad someone brought that up because
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Unfriended. It was like a different way. It was kind of like The Last Broadcast did a different way of found footage. Like that was a very different way using people's, and I think this is going to be massive for the future for found footage of using people's, webcams and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Very
and-
modern.
I haven't seen this, but they said that Unfriended Dark Web is arguably found footage, which of course I would say it is one of their favourite horror films of the year. Which I
Okay.
haven't seen that because I just haven't had the time to,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But yeah, I'm definitely going to check that one out. So thank you, Horrible People's Podcast, and they're at Horror People Pod.
I especially appreciate getting recommendations for sequels because of my natural aversion to
Yes.
it. That I especially need somebody to say, no, it is worth your time, and then I will check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if I really like the original, like I did, I really enjoyed Unfriended. I know you weren't a fan, Manny.
I like the presentation, and I like the concept of showing everything through laptop screens. I thought certain things they did in that movie were really smart, but I thought it was fucking stupid. Like I honestly, there are some moments in that first Unfriended where I was just like, duh, this is a movie for dummies. Which that was just my reaction. If you really enjoy it, I'm not necessarily saying you're a dummy, but
I feel like you just did.
Maybe I did. I really had that very honest
Well,
to God gut
I'm not
reaction.
a dummy, and I enjoyed it. So
I mean, I enjoy Freddy Got Fingered, so I can't say
Exactly.
a fucking thing. But
Exactly.
it rubbed me up the wrong way. Like certain things that happen
it's
in
very
that
much
movie.
a teen movie.
Yeah.
It's very teen movie. But
Yes.
I really enjoyed, like, it just did something new. new that I'd not seen before, and I'm all in for that. And yeah, the entire thing is on the computer screen. You're just looking at her computer screen with her the entire time, apart from I think the very, very end. When she
that was a bit
it.
silly. Don't want to talk about that.
She closes the laptop. It's a bad ending, but horror is infamous for not ending particularly, not having great endings.
No.
But yeah, I just thought it was fun. It was fine.
There were a couple of like little like scares or gags or however you want to put it. One bit that always stuck with me that I just really enjoyed was when like she's typing and talking to this like spirit demon, whatever it is, and she's typing in the chat box and she's about to press enter and it replies before she's pressed enter.
Yeah,
like. Little things like that, you know what I mean, is like clever, and then it like changes her Spotify playlist to every single one is like that song that was playing when she got.
I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless with that when you're using the internet.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think a film like that definitely proves that. Like, I think without a question, the genre has a future, but it's just how do you think the future is good? That is maybe where we're going with this. But the next one is from a man called Will Botch, whose handle is @WillBotch. He says, an appeal to me is a different look into a horror situation, adding that less is more, leaving it to your own thoughts at times, without having to show everything. Maybe even a more real feel, I think it means depending on how it's done, adding a little more terror. I feel there is a future. So I've got to say I do completely agree with the less is more sentiment. I rewatched Blair Witch for this for this discussion, and that to me, I think not just in found footage, I think that's a really good example of less is more, because you know what I mean, it's really so minimalist, that movie. Like you are not shown anything in the entire movie, but it is what you hear off in the distance. It's maybe what you thought you saw. It's maybe little clues of the or in the scenery. It's just seeing just these characters break down. You know what I mean? You're not given any more than that. And I think the less is more approach in found footage, I think, really works. I think you can always depend upon not showing your audience anything, which I think is a principle which you can apply to all horror movies. But I think if you given the kind of the thing that in found footage you're usually trying to convey, which is a sense of realism, I think there's if you go over the top with it, you can kill it. So I completely agree with the less is more sentiment. You know, be minimalist, be clever with what you show and what you don't and what you imply, and I think you can always get the imagination going, which is what we like most, for sure.
Okay, so we've got another comment here from Evil Angel @ChazTafoya. I hope I'm saying that right. And they say, the found footage genre needs to be updated in a sense. We need something new and fresh, but currently it feels as if the genre has died for now. And yeah, that's kind of, I think, what we're sort of realising here is, like, with things like Unfriended, which to be fair came out 2014. As a few,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
A few years ago now.
It's coming so fast.
Yeah, so, I mean, you take that as you will. I mean, you could say that, that was a modern take on it, but it was a few years ago now. And I think if it did come out today, it may actually already feel a bit dated in the social media that they're using and stuff. Maybe
the all of that technology does.
It changes constantly.
It's constantly evolving into new things, and new platforms rise to prominence, and other ones kind of decline. So
if you think about Black Mirror, obviously that's all about technology in the future. And I'm thinking of the specific episode where is it a contact lens they have? Yeah, and we see it through his contact lens.
Yes.
The episode, and it I don't know if it's I think it is recording because they can rewind, can't they?
He sees his wife's one.
Yeah, that's it. So things like that could potentially be something that we use in the future, or even is just used in a film to be a found footage. It just depends where we go with that.
Well, I think that you can use stuff like, obviously the police officers now a lot of the time have to wear cameras.
Yeah.
So that
body cams,
that could be something. It's there's loads of stuff that can be done. We're just waiting for someone to bring out the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's hope it's happening right now. They could be listening to this. If you're listening to this, bring it out soon.
Yeah, we're hungry and ravenous for new stuff to freak us out.
Right, my next one is from Crash Palace. Now, these guys, along with Horrible People's podcast, they're actually part of it as well. They're part of this horror family that was created by 12 Nights of Horror that we're very lucky to be in. and we all talk about horror and help each other out, and it's great. They put saying found footage won't go away. They're far cheaper to make due to smaller crews. Lately, I've seen many films such as Leaving DC and Bad Ben where there's only one cast member to keep costs down. But Creep and Creep 2 do things right because of a great two-person dynamic.
Yes.
And, I mean, these guys, their podcast is great. And it's pretty big. I mean, if you went on their Twitter page and saw how many followers they got, that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
They're really cool guys. And I completely agree with that.
Yeah, no, of course.
I mean, Creep... I haven't seen Creep 2.
Me neither.
I'm ashamed to say that, but I haven't seen it.
I literally only saw the first Creep the other day, having put it off for a long time because it's found footage, and I have had a bias, and it's one of the better ones I've watched. I completely agree. But
and that's all down to acting.
Entirely. But this is the thing, like, I think that, like, as much as there can be, like elements of found footage and as, like, a formula and as an aesthetic that can be exploited to make things interesting, I think Creep is an example of a movie that is just a good movie that just so happens to be a found footage movie. You know what I mean? And that actor would have been great in that role had it not been a found footage movie. But I think it did give it a certain... It felt very personal. So that, like, it feels very, very head on. And those moments in that film where you are literally face to face with that character and he's right up in his... It does give it that kind of, like, raw... Like, whoa, this guy's right up in his grill. And, you know what I mean? It adds to that uncomfortable feeling that character gives you. But yeah, no, let me just read that comment again.
Oh, you want to read it again?
Yeah. Let me have a look at the thing. Yeah, no, the point about smaller budgets, of course, is like a huge element for why this isn't going away. You know, it makes sense. We always have to look at movies through a financial lens because they are, at the end of the day, something that has to make money. They are you know, an artful product. If they make money, there is going to be more of them. And, you know, I mean, we can look at those two big examples of Paranormal Activity and the Blair Witch Project, which obviously not many movies get to that level from this kind of genre, but they're huge. They're disgustingly huge. You know what I mean? And like they're always going to be movies that aspire to that. But even if they don't get to those levels, you know, with a budget like that, even if you get a return, which for a big Hollywood movie would be considered a failure, like if you haven't spent as much money and you manage to make like, I don't know, like $500,000, that can still be a huge success. So of course there's always going to be people who want to, you know, make some money off it, and hopefully they've got a good idea to go along with it and they want to make something good.
Cool. Next comment.
Right, next comment. And this person seems to be kind of on my wavelength.
I want to see you read out the name.
Okay. The name says, Dino says, happy holidays to all. I hope I'm getting that right. I'm probably not. And the handle is a what podcast, and the what has 3 A's in it, just so you know. And they say, for better or worse, I fear there is a future for them. They are hit or miss, mostly miss, but a few shine. And I think that's pretty much exactly how I feel. As much as I'm me realising that I'd seen a lot of found footage horror movies, like more than I'd realised that I enjoyed, I understand the pessimism, because I've seen a lot that I hated. But there is I think the general.
I think sometimes it's easier to remember the ones you didn't like, which is a shame.
Yeah, I agree.
You have to try you remember the good. Remember the good times, Manny.
I try.
Every cloud, which means every 10 bad found footage, there's one.
Yeah, but you've got to... I do think that this was something, especially at the beginning of this decade, that was so oversaturated. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I remember...
Oversaturation's never going to be a good thing.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I remember more of the bad ones is because I think there just was more bad ones. But maybe that's just me being biased and a prick. Who knows?
So I'm just going to reel off a couple here quickly. First, Ghoul-Tide Carol at X-Glamour Ghoul. She just said, can't wait to see the discussion. I love found footage movies. I'm just going to say, yeah, I think we pretty much are in agreement. Like we seem to be bringing Manny round to this way of thinking. So
a little bit, yeah.
That's all good.
She actually commented another one as well. I just want to interrupt there because I forgot that I printed out a few pages of this, and there's different ones on different ones.
Rob doesn't do organisation.
There's no way I could have done it. I did the best. I printed out Twitter. I had to print screen these pictures, put them into Paint, crop them, and then print them out. I tried really hard. So she also put, I really love found footage movies. They might be gimmicky at times, but they add a sense of realism that draws in people, even ones who might not be big horror fans. And I appreciate anything that brings horror elements to the regular people. And for that, I say, awesome. And that's a great comment. And yeah, I agree. Anything that can bring more horror fans out there is awesome.
Yes, completely.
Never a bad thing. The other one was Chucky's side chick. Bloody love the name, by the way.
I've already told her that on Twitter because I couldn't help myself. Because she's also got a really cool name.
Yeah, Freddy's Muse.
Yeah, legend.
Two solid names there. Found footage movies are my absolute favourite. I love how they are set and they're usually cheesy. Something about them. Plus Blair Witch is what really set the bar for them, and that movie has a very special place in my heart. It does for us too. Well, for me and Rob at the very least, we really, really love that too. I think if you like that film, then that's setting our bias, I guess. It kind of just sets you on that road to be a little bit more open to them in general, I guess.
That film is in deep for me. I won't be able to ever get it out.
I do appreciate it more with every viewing, Blair Witch. There are elements in how authentic they make it. It feels very real, which I think is key. And I think that Blair Witch feels more real to me than any of the other found footage movies I've seen. So yeah, fair comment.
Cool. I've got a couple I'm going to reel off as well. So Maori Vertamo, which is at Maori Vertamo. Hopefully I've got that right. It's a kind of double-edged sword with the found footage, though. The good ones are usually really great, and the bad ones are just awful. Yeah, like that. I think that's your thing, Manny. Is the bad ones have got to you so much that they really muddy the water for the good ones, and it stops you from because I obviously as a warrior for found footage films, I will battle through and check out all of them. The bad ones have turned you off them. Yeah,
I'm gonna maybe give ones more of a fair scrub now, but I definitely had that for a long time. Where when I saw that a movie was a found footage movie in its trailer, it was like, no. No.
No. I've got another one from Michael Proctor, which is at Wolfieman121. I like that handle. Which is sometimes.
Were you the Wolfman when you were a kid?
When I was at a skate park, I had a beard when I was 11. It felt like
you were pretty.
So I used to skateboard a lot, and at the skate park, my nickname was Wolfman.
Nice.
Because I guess I looked like a wolf. I also had a lot more hair on my head at that time. Sadly, but Michael, I agree with that, but also it also can make a film very ununderstandable. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it can make a lot of films, especially the ones where you spend half the film looking at people's feet. So yeah, I agree that sometimes it's useful to create the story and narrative that you're after, but sometimes
they still need all the elements that any good film needs. As I said before, it needs a good script, it needs good acting, it needs good plot. That's one thing, especially with Grave Encounters, rewatching it again last night, was that the script in that is great. Not that it's a great script as a standalone thing, but just for its genre and for what it's trying to do. It didn't even feel scripted. It just felt like what people would actually say in that situation.
It made it cohesive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean that's the important point. I think there can be in some of the lesser movies in this genre a tendency to maybe just start going off on too much of a tangent, and things just become completely mental and you can't quite understand what's going on. Whereas, in any movie there needs to be, a decent narrative and motivation for the characters and stakes, things to gain, things to lose for the characters. These are classic storytelling tropes for a reason, and just because you're going into this slightly more loose way of filming doesn't mean I think you have the liberty to lose that particularly.
I also forgot to mention that Maori Vertamo also did another comment, which was all we need is more movies like Wreck, which I totally agree.
Yes.
She was the one that made... Well, I always would have brought up Wreck, but seeing that comment, I was like, yes, you guys know. Also, I've got another one, at Horror Daddies Are Us, which is a really cool name.
All right, then.
Her name's Crystal, and she does a podcast called Horror Nights In. She's part of our horror family. And I can't find the comment that she put, because I guess I'm not as good as organising as I thought I was, but I knew that it was about Grave Encounters, because she's also, like me and Ruby, a massive fan of that film. Right, so Manny, what's your other comment?
My other comment is from Captain Blood of Kirby, at Blood of Kirby, And he says, while found footage has given us a multitude of crappy movies, there's enough good ones to prove the subgenre itself is not hopeless. Just like with anything that's a fad, it will lay low for a while, but all it needs is one good filmmaker to bring it back, hopefully in moderation. Hopefully in moderation, I think, is a very good comment. Thank you very much, because like I said, that oversaturation that happened was insane, man. It was next level. But again, I
enough
think
to put you off anything, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think, as we said, man, you know what I mean, if someone's got a good idea and the way to present it is in this kind of an aesthetic, then go right for it.
So I think this is my last one from Aunt Acid at Lady_Stark 1984. And she says, it's all in the execution. I've seen some really well-made found footage films and some that just seem to think found footage was an easy cop-out. Afflicted, Exists, Grave Encounters 2, and The Houses That October Built are some of my faves. Yes, on The Houses That October Built, by the way. Bad Ben wasn't great, but Lead was funny, so I liked it. Couldn't agree more.
Exactly.
It's such a good laugh.
Stop it.
Film.
Stop it.
Stop it.
When a ghost barely touches. I mean, yeah. I have got two more, and then we've got through them.
Wait.
So, Anonymous Crow, which is at Crow the Arkan, ARKN. Absolutely. It's a genre with a lot of creative possibilities, and agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. It has, like we've discussed earlier, it's got so many angles it can go down. And the way that we use cameras now, everyone's got a camera phone. There's police officers are having to use the thing on their chest, you know, the cams. We've even got dash cams now.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That's a big thing, especially in the UK. So there's loads of potential. And the last one from Jules, which is Julie Beth Fenn. If it's done well, brackets, Troll Hunter, yep, like same like Don Carpenter, Troll Hunter in there. As Above, So Below, one of Ruby's favourite. Good films. And Borderlands. Borderlands is a British film, and it is so good.
That is
Have you seen it,
another
Manny?
one.
I haven't seen Borderlands.
It's great.
That was on my list, the Borderlands. That came out in 2013. That is an excellent film. Really, really, really good. And again, that's another one where I forgot that it was found footage because it was just brilliant in its own right.
Yeah, and Jules says the ending is superb in that, which I agree. The ending, it definitely is a shock, and it takes a different direction than what you think it's going to be, but it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
That's intriguing to me.
You should check it out. We've got it on DVD.
I'll have to borrow it.
Yeah, but a lot of found footage is lazy and boring and limited story and no real payoff. And I agree. I've seen lots of found footage films where you think you're going to get something and you don't. Yeah. And they shit all over the genre.
I thought I was done. I just found one I missed from Samus Aran.
Sick name.
I'm assuming that's how it's said. In brackets, Miley at Samus Aran 2020. And they said, I believe there is, as I guess, a future in found footage because it gives a more realistic feel without crossing any lines. And I think we've mentioned that it's that realistic feel, like feeling like you're in there with them.
Yes.
That's pretty invaluable in horror, like to feel the threat for yourself and not as some distant thing is really important.
As though you're not just a spectator, you're like fully one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone that commented on Twitter, voted, liked and retweeted that post. It was so awesome that we actually could get a good discussion with people and we could discuss it on the podcast, because that is what we really wanted this episode to be about, is that we could all have a chat with everyone. It's not just the three of us, it's hashtag brackets worldwide. So lame. When am I going to not be lame?
Dude. Can we pretend that never happened? That was that.
Can I mean, it's almost as lame as me saying copper knickers the other day.
That's staying in. Come on, you have to lie your bed when you've made in it. That's grim.
Talking about me being lame, you know, I said instead of Copernicus, I said Copernicus a few episodes ago. Luckily they enjoyed that episode, the directors and everyone that's in it, but I caught them having a laugh about me saying Copernicus. I don't know. I saw on Facebook and on Twitter them saying about how funny that was, and I mean they said they're going to get another rat called Copernicus, and if they do, then I'm going to feel very proud of myself. But yeah, I'm glad that was one of the takeaways from that episode, is me being a fool.
See how much joy you bring to people, Rob?
Yeah, at what expense?
Your dignity.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't make me make you do a rap again, Manny.
Oh yeah, no. Now he's got that bit of leverage up me. I'm not going to hear the fucking fucking end of it.
You never will.
Jesus.
We may be around for a
you
few
hear what
years.
it fucking does to me, audience? Sweet dear audience. The fucking sheer amount of torment he puts me through. Fucking Jigsaw don't have shit anymore. Christ!
Thank you for everyone getting involved. And
Thank
also,
you.
I just want to take this time as well to say, if you, whatever you're listening on, could you please give us a review, and especially about this episode in particular, because it will help us know whether or not you like it, and it will just help out the podcast massively.
Yeah, I feel like we got through most of the films that I wanted to mention and recommend to people, like with either within the comments or before. But there were some that I really wanted to shout out, just in case people haven't heard of them.
Me too. I will get to that. Yeah.
So we mentioned Houses October Bill, Hell House LLC, As Above So Below. One I think was really worth mentioning is The Visit.
Yes.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Funnily enough,
Shyamalan.
I was talking with someone recently, and I was sort of bringing up that we were doing this, and they said that they really liked The Visit, which is surprising because M. Night doesn't have the most flawless of track records. But what is it about The Visit that makes it?
It's
makes
funny, but also tense. It's not funny in like a shit way. It's funny apart from the bit where there's literal shit involved.
There's a lot of shit. it's kind of, yeah.
There is a lot of shit.
It's found footage. It's filmed by two kids, which, you know, coming from me, it's probably quite surprising that I liked it. But they're two great little actors. And it's just, of course, it's an M. Night, so it has a really great little twist in it that I hadn't predicted. It's just really fun, and it's got some real genuine creep moments.
All right.
So yeah, The Visit 2015. The other one was The Gallows in 2015. Both me and Rob quite liked that.
I enjoyed that.
It was another quite teen one.
One thing I didn't like about that is they were hailing it as like, so you had Freddy Krueger, you had, you know, all this stuff, and I can't annoy. And then they were like, but have you seen this guy? And they're trying to hail a new like horror icon.
Yeah.
And they didn't, because I can't even remember the thing's fucking name.
Isn't it just ghosts? I don't even...
No, the gallows is that thing.
Oh, I obviously don't remember that
exactly.
well. I'm recommending it, but I don't remember that one. I just remember we enjoyed it anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, the other one I was going to mention was The Borderlands, but we bought that up, so yeah.
Yeah. The movie, I think there's only one movie which has not been mentioned, which is a big gap here, right? That's Cannibal Holocaust. Now, I don't think you would necessarily think of Cannibal Holocaust when you think of found footage, because it kind of falls into more of like that 70s Italian subgenre.
Very
cannibal
violent,
movies.
yeah.
It's an exploitation movie that's kind of more renowned for being like extreme for its time. Well, not just for its time. It's still fucking gruesome, but the entire conceit of having like documentary filmmakers go out and film something and then their footage be found and be part of the movie. I mean, Cannibal Holocaust basically innovated that. It was like the first movie to have that as an idea. If you haven't seen Cannibal Holocaust, I mean, I'd say it's more than worth a watch, because it is a landmark of like proper extremity. But it's also, you know, just with talking about found footage, it's also the first movie which kind of had that at the time, and people weren't used to it, and they thought, you know, very famously, the director, you know, he got put on trial for murder. People were not used to that level of realism. They thought they were watching real murders happen, but of course in that film there's real animal murder in it, which is not great. And it's like the one thing that makes that film proper seedy to me. And it like if you have a problem with that, don't fucking watch it, because it's fucked up. Like, I mean, I don't say that lightly. I'm very desensitized, but some of the animal killings in Cannibal... I mean, you're watching animals get actually killed in that film, and it's fucked. Like, there's just no getting away from it. It's like, oh, look, it's a pig, and it's been shot at point-blank range in the head with a shotgun. That just happened. Great.
Well, didn't you also think about that film you said from the 60s called Peeping Tom?
Peeping Tom.
I know that isn't necessarily found footage, but
No.
it kind of had some element.
Well, yeah, it's like about the serial killer who likes to film his victims as he with a camera, and he like upends one of the tripod stands, and he like stabs them with it. He films their final moments, and it kind of, you get like the point of view shots as he kills them. And at the time, that was considered disgusting. People were like massively offended. I think there might have been obscenity trials thrown at the film at the time, and you know that I think you could definitely call that proto found footage. It certainly set like it was a predecessor of sorts. It's an interesting film, like especially like in terms of the historical context. It's a bit cheesy, but I'd recommend it. I'd recommend it.
Cool. And to close out the show, I found on IMDb a top 10 found footage movies list. I want to see if you guys agree, and you guys listening, I want to see if you agree. So get in touch with us about this. I personally think it's wrong.
Okay.
But okay, so number 1, Wreck.
See, it's one of the best ones I've seen.
Yeah. The next one, Norroy the Curse. Or Nowroy, now.
I saw that years ago and I thought it was boring, but I could be totally wrong because I thought lots of things were boring that weren't, because I was just a bit silly as a teenager.
Nice.
But, yeah.
Number 3, Paranormal Activity. Fair enough, that's got to be on the list.
Yeah.
4, The Conspiracy. Don't know why that's on there.
Never heard of it.
5, Chronicle. Not a horror film, so whatever. Not even a great
I liked
film.
Chronicle. I thought Chronicle was a good movie.
I'm going to disagree with you there.
Is it just found footage or found footage horror?
Found footage horror film.
Oh.
Number 6, Paranormal Activity 3. Don't know why you'd have the other ones on, especially number 3.
That sucks.
Number 7, The Blair Witch Project. Don't know why that's not higher, but okay. Rec 2 is on there.
No.
Yeah, the one where they changed it from zombies to ghosties or paranormal entities.
They're demons.
That's it, demons, yeah. The Collingswood Story, which I've never seen.
No.
And number 10, Skew, which fucking sucked. So
I haven't even know.
Don't know why you've done that. I don't really agree with this list, but I didn't want to go for the top 100 because I don't have enough paper to print all that out.
No, that would cost a lot of fucking money. We're on a budget, damn it.
Think of the tree.
So, shall we close out the end of the show with what we think the answer was to the question?
Yes.
The question of, do found footage horror movies have a future? I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say, of course they do. To me, it is very obvious that there is a future.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Ruby?
I guess I'd say yes too, but yes, asterisk depending.
Okay.
You know, genre is a very small part of what a film is, ultimately.
Yes.
In how good it is. It's got to have all those other elements, just like anything else.
I think it's a yes, and also Twitter think it's a yes
Rob's
as well.
got to have the last word. Yes, bye.
Yeah. But yeah, so thanks again for listening, everybody, and thanks again for
Thanks, guys.
being a part of this discussion. I'm just going to say one more time, could we please get some reviews on this episode, or just reviews in general on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to it, because that will really help us out. And if you like us and want us to grow, that would be the best way of doing it.
Also, can I make a personal request? If you're still listening to this right now, can you give me some found footage recommendations? Because I think I'd be more willing to give this whole thing a shot with a bit more fair. So if you reckon, like, you kind of have an idea for what I might or might like or might not. If you know of a good found footage horror movie that I haven't seen, I've already got a few which I'm going to watch because of this, but give me some recommendations, man. It'd be good.
Okay, and you can get in touch with us at @WatchHorrorPod on Twitter. On Instagram, we are...
Let's Watch Horror Pod.
That is the same as Facebook. If you want to get in touch with us directly through our email, it's letswatchhorror@gmail.com. I think it definitely is.
We'll have it in the
always at the
descriptions.
end of the show, and we haven't come up with a cool sign-off yet. So thank you for listening, and thanks Tommy Musgrove for our artwork. Talk to you guys soon.
Love you.
Oh.
Bye.